Hello, good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to get started on our webinar here. Before I get started, I am just going to put a quick poll up to get a sense of who has joined us today. So, see if I can get this to work. All right, so if you could just share, we're just curious to know who's joining us, if you're a potential applicant or a supervisor or here just to learn about the program in general. Give you a moment to respond there. Give you one more moment there if you want to share who you're joining as. Okay, great, thank you. Keep us moving along. I'll go on to the next question. We're going to be talking about a few different streams of our studentship program. So again, just wanted to get a sense how you heard about this and which one you're interested in applying for if you're a student. Okay. Great, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And again, welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for taking the time for joining us today. I'm really pleased to be hosting this webinar. My name is Julie Jonkins. I'm the trading and researcher at BioCanRx, and I'm joined by a number of panelists, including some of our partners on the program, as well as a previous supervisor and student from the program. And we have some time in the agenda to hear from each of them to share more about our program. I would like to begin the webinar by acknowledging that BioCanRx is situated on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, and we acknowledge and respect our traditional hosts and thank them for allowing us to operate on this land. While BioCanRx is located in Ottawa, I actually work remotely and recently moved to Sarnia, Ontario with my family. And I want to acknowledge that Sarnia is on the traditional territory of the Chippewa, Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples, collectively known as the Anishinaabe, who inhabited these lands at the time they were transferred to the Crown as part of Treaty 29. This photo on the slide, I wanted to share this. It's a picture of my kids enjoying a nature walk at one of the nearby conservation areas called Wabanosh Wetlands. And I've recently learned that this place is named after Chief Joshua Wabanosh, an Anishinaabe leader who served as a head chief and a signatory to Treaty 29. And this treaty transferred a significant amount of land in southwestern Ontario to the Crown. And it was understood differently by each side of the agreement. For the Anishinaabe people, it was intended to secure a future on their lands and maintain a relationship with the Crown. But ultimately, it resulted in a loss and confinement and ongoing struggle over rights and territory for the Indigenous peoples. So now that I'm learning more about the land that we're living on, when I bring my kids to the conservation area and enjoy the really beautiful natural area here, I'm mindful that these lands and waters have been home to the Anishinaabe people long before Canada existed, and I'm reminded of my continued responsibility to work toward reconciliation. At BioCanRx, one of the ways that we're working towards reconciliation is through our Indigenous Student Summer Internship Program, which provides opportunities for Indigenous students to participate in cancer immunotherapy research and policy work, and also supports bidirectional learning within our network to learn more about Indigenous perspectives and their engagement in research. Part of the webinar today, we'll be sharing more details on this program. But before I get to those details, I want to share a little bit more information about BioCanRx as an organization and our general studentship program as well. Again, just in terms of a brief agenda here, the first half of the webinar will be going over an overview of our studentship programs and the different streams that we have available. And then in more of the second half of the webinar, we're joined, as I mentioned, by a supervisor and a student who've participated in the program. And we'll do a little Q&A to get more of the insight on their perspective of the program. And we will leave some time at the end for questions. So for those of you who may not know about BioCanRx, we're Canada's immunotherapy network. We're a national nonprofit organization located in Ottawa, and we're funded through the Government of Canada's Strategic Science Fund, which aims to enhance Canada's excellence in science, technology, and innovation. Our mandate focuses on cancer immunotherapy and accelerating to the clinic the most promising cancer immunotherapies designed to save lives and enable a better quality of life. And our vision is ambitious. We want to transform all cancers into curable disease. We accomplish this mission and vision by investing in translational research and actively supporting scientists in moving promising discoveries from the lab into clinical trials. And through these investments, this has resulted in 16 clinical trials based on novel Canadian developed therapies. We have projects researching 43 different and new therapies and approaches. These projects have resulted in over 400 cancer patients being treated with these new therapies. We have co-investment from our ecosystem partners of over $150 million, and we partner with over 58 industry partners on these projects to try to bring more of these therapies to the market. Our training programs recognize that this work requires highly specialized expertise and interdisciplinary collaboration. And so our training programs provide highly qualified personnel with hands-on experience with these leading technologies and therapeutic approaches. And as you'll see in another slide, our research stems from virology to immunology, health policy, and biomanufacturing, ensuring that we're equipping students with the knowledge across the whole translational pipeline to bring these novel therapies to the clinic. And today we'll be focusing on our summer student internship program. And this program provides undergraduate students and college students an opportunity to gain work experience in the Canadian cancer biotherapeutics research sector. It provides an award of $9,000 in salary support for students to work on a cancer biotherapeutics project in the lab of a BioCanRx funded PI over a 14-week work term. And this occurs in the summer between May and August. We're able to fund up to 15 awards. And in terms of applicant eligibility, you must be an undergraduate student working towards a degree at a Canadian university or college and have completed at least 2 semesters. And we do not allow students who are currently enrolled in a graduate program to participate. You cannot hold a funding award from another tri-agency council research agency while holding the BioCanRx award. And if you have held award in the past, while you are allowed to reapply, we do give priority to students who are new applicants to the award. In terms of supervisor eligibility, we do expect that students have found a supervisor at the time of application and have made arrangements with the supervisor to work in the lab and to co-apply to the award. And really, the reason that we have designed it this way is we expect the student and the supervisor to meet and ensure that the project is co-developed and aligns with both the research interests of the lab as well as the student. And I think, as I mentioned, the placement must be in the area of cancer immunotherapy. And we do have a list of network investigators on our website that I will be sharing. But these investigators we do give them priority, but if there's projects that are investigators that are not listed on our website, but the project falls within our mandate, we also consider those projects and applications as well. A supervisor can host a student that's from a different institution than their own. And while a supervisor may hold a student from the Summer Studentship Program as well as the Indigenous Studentship Program, they can't hold 2 students from the general stream of the program. So I will distribute these slides after, and I have included a link to our network investigators on our website where you can look for investigators who are either at your institution and take a look at the research and see whether there's individuals or projects that may interest you. But again, just to give you a sense of what this looks like, on our website, you'll find the list of investigators and the institutions where they're working. In terms of project eligibility, again, projects must fall within the BioCanRx mandate. This is just to give you an idea of the different themes that projects have fallen into the past. So this includes vaccines and oncolytic viruses, cell therapy, clinical, social, and economic impact, manufacturing enhancements, and other topics related to cell biology or immunology. I do just also want to mention that most of these projects are considered wet lab environments where you're doing research at a bench, However, we do have a number of projects that fall into the clinical and social and economic impact category that tend to involve maybe more literature reviews or meta analyses of papers that might not necessarily be wet lab experiences. But these projects really help us tackle more of the healthcare adoption side of these new novel therapies. And again, from this slide, you'll find a link to our website where you can find all of the previous projects that we funded. And so I think this is a great resource to learn more about the projects that we funded and the PIs who have taken on students before. Again, just to give you an example of what you'll find on the website, you'll see all of the students who've previously received the award, the supervisor that they worked with and the institution, and then a little summary of the project. The application will be available to download from our website next Monday. And again, we do expect that the student and the supervisor co-complete the application form. Part of the application involves providing a summary of the proposed research project. Then the student provides a summary of what they'll be responsible for over the summer and what they'll gain from that experience. And they also provide a statement of interest, their CV, and a transcript. And then we ask the supervisor to provide a letter of support. And all of the documentation is emailed to me directly. Part of the application form also includes a section where the supervisor describes specific and concrete practices to ensure that EDI is intentionally and proactively supported in their training plan. In terms of adjudication, again, really the essence of this award is to give students who perhaps haven't had an opportunity to participate in research before an exposure to cancer research. And so we're really looking to see in the student's application that they've clearly articulated how this opportunity will advance their academic and professional career goals. We also make sure that the project is feasible and realistic in the timeline and that what the student will be getting out of the experience is very beneficial and valuable. We also look at the quality of the student according to the letter of support and their transcript and CV. And again, making sure there's alignment between the student's goals and the program's goals. In terms of timeline, again, I think I mentioned the program will be launching on our website next Monday. The deadline will be February 13th. And so that gives a good amount of time for students to reach out to supervisors, set up a meeting, discuss the project, and complete the application together. We send out the notice of award maybe late March, early April, and then the award start date is May 4th. And we begin the program with an orientation, a virtual orientation, where we introduce students from all across Canada and share a little bit more about what to expect out of the program. And then the end date is August 28th. And again, the funding is for a 14-week period within that time frame. And so it's up to the student and the supervisor to really negotiate the start date and the end date within that time frame. At the end of the studentship, there is an end of term report that we require students to complete. This really is just an opportunity for us to learn what our recipients got out of the experience and look for opportunities for improvement. And I think a really exciting component of the program is that we invite all of our studentship recipients to present a poster at our annual Summit for Cancer Immunotherapy. So this is our annual conference where we bring together over 300 attendees to learn about the latest in cancer immunotherapy research. And so BioCanRx waives the registration of studentship recipients and also provides a travel award for students to attend. So the 2026 cohort will be invited to attend our conference from October 24th to 26th in 2027 in Calgary, Alberta. Okay, so a little bit about our Indigenous Student Summer Internship Program stream. This program functions very similarly to the general stream, but there's a few key differences. And one is that the project eligibility extends beyond our mandate and includes any cancer-related research or policy-related work, including that with an Indigenous-oriented framework, such as Indigenous traditional knowledge. We're really grateful for our partners on this program, the Ontario Institute for Cancer Research and the Canadian Cancer Society. And thanks to their sponsorship, we're able to have up to 8 awards in this stream. I'll go over a few more details before I pass the floor over to them. So again, the application is quite similar. I think the main difference here is that we don't require a CV and a transcript from the applicant, but otherwise the materials are very similar. And again, looking to see that the student and the supervisor have worked together to design the project. Again, in terms of adjudication, we're looking for that alignment between the student's academic and professional goals and the goals of the program. And this timeline is the same as our general stream. And again, these students are also invited to attend Summit for Cancer Immunotherapy. Okay, I think with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to our partner from OICR, Rebecca Tamarchak, if you'd like to take the floor.
Thank you so much. So hi, everyone. I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about OICR, about our institute and about some of our PIs who are very excited to host students this summer. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So OICR is funded by the Government of Ontario. So we are located in downtown Toronto, and our mandate is to really advance and accelerate cancer research across Ontario. So we have labs in the Mars building in downtown Toronto, which is near Princess Margaret and several other hospitals. And we also support cancer research at hospitals, research institutes, and universities across Ontario. And it's very much collaborative research. So we try to bring together different groups to tackle big problems. And it's translational. So we tend to fund not necessarily discovery research, but research that has an application. So maybe a new therapeutic candidate or a new biomarker, or some, clinical decision-making tools based on AI. So some cool projects like that. Next slide, please. And I just want to give you a preview of the PIs that are based at OICR in Mars in downtown Toronto. So David Euling leads our therapeutic innovation and drug discovery group. There's a lab of about 35 people. Many of them have industry experience, and they do small molecule drug discovery and biology. We have a very strong genomics program led by Dr. Trevor Pugh, who's also cross-appointed to Princess Margaret Cancer Center, doing really cool stuff on liquid biopsy, next generation genomics. Dr. Melanie Courteau, who does our genome informatics, which is really like these very exciting big data projects, data sharing and integration and deployment in the cloud. Next slide, please. We have a large computational biology group, so they focus a lot on informatics, interpreting genomics and other technologies, and developing algorithms. So Jared Simpson leads that group. We also have Shraddha Pai, who works on epigenetics and brain cancer, Yuri Raymond, who works sort of across cancers. I think my last slide, please. And then Sagi Abelson, who works primarily on leukemia. And then we have diagnostic development, which is co-directed by Jane Bayani and Melanie Spears, and they work on biomarkers and new diagnostic tests. So these slides will be sent to you. You can find more information about these individuals on our website. And please go ahead and contact them. We'd really love to host students this summer. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. And I think it's so great to put kind of a face to a name there too with some of the potential supervisors. So thank you for that invitation. And again, just want to reiterate that for the Indigenous stream, the projects are beyond the BioCanRx mandate. So while you can find investigators on our website, OICR is another place for investigators. And then if there's a research interest you have and would like help finding someone, you're welcome to reach out to me. You can find my email on the website, and I'm happy to help find researchers. Okay, and I'm happy to turn the floor over to Chloe from the Canadian Cancer Society.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Julie. As Julie said, my name's Chloe Murphy. I'm a research engagement specialist here at the Canadian Cancer Society. And before I begin, I'd just like to say thank you all for embarking on this cancer research journey. Research is vital to helping us change the future of cancer, and you are all a very important part of that change. So next slide, please, Julie. So CCS is a very large organization. Before I started working here, I had no idea what we did or, all of the different things we do. So for those of you who are interested, CCS, we offer support services. So, bringing people to and from their cancer treatments. We advocate to the government. We offer cancer information, and we also fund research, which is what I do at CCS. You can go to the next slide, Julie. So CCS is the largest cancer charity in Canada. Our investment in cancer research totals over $2.1 billion to date. We invest more than $40 million annually, and that's across all different kinds of cancer research. And research funding mechanisms, they have evolved over time, but we've always used an expert review process to ensure the best research isn't funded. And that includes, having scientific experts, people with lived experience, end users, really the people who will be impacted by cancer research involved in all of the different levels of funding research. So from designing our programs right to the end of actually picking the research we fund. Next slide, please. So in 2022, we launched a new research strategy, and at the core of that research strategy, we had 5 grounding principles. I won't read through them all here, but we had person-centered, diversified, collaborative, impactful, and innovative. And these grounding principles are what led us to partner with BioCan almost 3 years ago. And since then, since 2024, we have had the opportunity to support 5 students, and we're very excited to support more this year. It's my favorite part of my job, and I love getting to be a part of everyone's journeys. So next slide. So the most important part of why I'm here today is if you are co-funded by us, there's a few different opportunities that come with it. So at CCS, we have something called the Research Training Awards, where we fund master's, PhD, and postdoctoral students from across Canada. And through that program, we offer something called the Ignite Training Program. And the Ignite Training Program is a learning, networking, and knowledge exchange program. And as a student co-funded by us through BioCan, you will actually get the opportunity to participate in some of our online workshops. And some examples of workshops we've had in the past are patient engagement, trauma-informed care. We've had science communication workshops. And these workshops are really guided by what our research training awardees are looking for, maybe, training that isn't offered at their institutions. So you would be invited to participate in those online workshops. And we also have opportunities to share your story, your research journey, in our CCS newsletters and on cancer.ca. And then one thing I just wanted to mention, we also, as I said, we have our Research Training Awards program, and through that program, we fund Black and Indigenous students only at the master's level, and we actually offer students who apply, we offer a mentorship opportunity where former RTAs will actually support the incoming applicants through the application process. So we have a new master's stream opening up within the next week. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can visit our website, cancer.ca, on the For Researchers page. But yeah, very excited to be here, and I love this partnership, and I'm excited to fund and support more students. So thank you, Julie.
Thanks so much, Chloe. And yeah, like you said, I think this partnership really is great in that, while students get a lot out of the 14-week research experience, I think we're really trying to build that community and network and provide opportunities just beyond the hands-on bench research and ensure that you're getting a really comprehensive training experience. So thank you both for sharing a little bit about your organizations. And I'm really pleased to also announce that this year we're partnering with the Canadian Black Scientists Network on a new stream for Black students to participate in the Studentship Program. The details of this program are coming soon, but I'm really pleased to have a representative from CBSN here today, Lola Oyefeso, who can share a few words about this partnership.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. So my name's Lola. I'm the External Partnerships Coordinator at the Canadian Black Scientists Network. And yeah, very excited to announce the new initiative, which is the Black Student Summer Internship stream. So for those who may be new to CBSN, we are a national organization dedicated to celebrating, supporting, and advancing Black excellence in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine. And we're really working to build equitable research environments and create pathways that will help Black trainees thrive in their academic and professional journeys. And this partnership builds directly on that. So it's going to be similar to the general stream as well as the Indigenous stream. Will be starting in next summer, 2026. And CBSN will support both students and supervisors throughout the process. And we'll also be having separate pre-application information sessions as well. Like the other streams, it's open to Black undergraduate students enrolled at Canadian universities, and all applicants are going to be encouraged to become CBSN members to access ongoing mentorship, career development events, and our national network of Black scientists and allies. So if you are a student interested in applying, and if you're also a researcher or a supervisor interested in hosting an intern, please connect with us to explore participation. And yeah, super excited. And if you have any questions, feel free to check out our website and send us an email, as well as to the general BioCanRx communications as well. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Lola, for being here. And we're excited to partner and looking forward to launching this stream as well. Okay, a few more words just to emphasize a few things before we move to our Q&A. So again, I think as we've already discussed, beyond the 14-week hands-on research experience, really these programs are meant to build a network, build a community, help you get connections in the field. Similar to what Chloe mentioned, BioCanRx has a number of workshops that we offer for the studentship recipients throughout the summer on getting used to working in a lab environment, communicating to the public, writing an abstract, making a scientific presentation. So we really try to make it so that you're well equipped to work in a research environment. And of course, the summit where you get to meet really world-leading researchers in cancer immunotherapy and actually meet some of the other recipients in person, which we've heard is one of the favorite components of our recipients. And just lastly, we have a number of opportunities where recipients can share their work with the public and do a bit of outreach. So we have a campaign called Hey BioCanRx, where we feature some of our student recipients on social media. And again, it's just a platform for recipients to share a little bit about the research that they're working on and get their name and their work out there. We have a feature at the end of the summer where a few students will reflect on their experience and share what they got out of the opportunity. And then we also have opportunities to speak with the media and sometimes some of the local government officials, MPs, and share a little bit about why this opportunity is beneficial to your career preparation. Okay, and lastly, just again, you are hopefully familiar with our website, but our newsletter is another great place to keep up to date on opportunities, and we're also on a number of social media platforms, so check us out there. And now, I'm really pleased to introduce our panelists for our Q&A portion. So in addition to all of the programmatic details, we wanted to really hear from both a supervisor and a student's perspective about how they approached the application process, what their experience has been like in the actual program, and share some tips of and advice on how to engage in this program. So really pleased to introduce Chelsea Leduc, who is one of our OICR-sponsored Indigenous Student recipients. Her supervisor was Dr. Tharbalingam at the Northern Ontario School of Medicine University, working on the project investigating the role of isoprostanes in breast cancer radiotherapy. And also really pleased to welcome Dr. Michelle Ardolino, professor in the Department of Biochemistry, Microbiology, and Immunology, director of the Microbiology Graduate Program, and senior scientist at the OHRI. So thank you so much both for being here today. Really excited to hear your perspectives. And I have a few facilitated Q&As, but then we can open it up to the audience. So I thought maybe, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. I don't think we need that up the whole time. I'll start with you, Dr.
I look fantastic, so
yeah,
good enough.
It's a nice photo. I'll actually start with you, Dr. Ardolino. Can you share a little bit of insight into how you have found undergraduate students to work into your lab and what you might be looking for in an undergraduate student?
Right, this is a very good question. Actually, my in my classes when I teach, I do have a little Q&A with the students where they ask this kind of question, and my response is always the same: is enthusiasm is the thing that we, at least myself, are looking for in undergraduate students. We assume you have no competence, and it's mostly a right assumption at this stage of your career. And so really what we're looking for is somebody who's very willing to get their hands wet and get to do the exciting science that we can offer you to do. So the enthusiasm, the time you spend in the lab, it's really, really, really important. Mostly for me, when I read an email from student, that kind of enthusiasm, it's not too hard to read, right? It comes across in emails very nicely. And the other advice that I would have is if you reach out to profs, which is a mistake that I see in many, many applications, you need to be very, very specific about why you want to be in a certain lab. We receive dozens of emails every day asking for, a placement, and it's really hard to, go through all of them. And I do. The one thing that I don't do is I don't respond to blank emails. So if I know that an email is a template and has been sent to another dozen of colleagues of mine, I usually don't bother responding. So you want to have in that first email a very good introduction about yourself. You want to tell the PI why you want to work in that lab, and you want to make sure that the email is as personalized as possible. And I answer to all of those emails, even if I cannot accommodate the people in my lab, to have those people in my lab.
That's great. Thank you so much for that insight. And I think that's great to hear. I think I get a lot of questions about whether there's an expectation of applicants having done research before. So it sounds like you're kind of that's not necessarily a requirement.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
Great.
because you have to start somewhere. So
yeah.
we are happy for us to be the first place where you started.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you so much. And Chelsea, from your perspective, I know you did your project in a lab at a university that's different from where you're actually studying. So can you share insight onto how you found a supervisor?
Yeah, so I'm from Sudbury, Ontario, which is where NOSM is located, but I'm currently studying at the University of Ottawa. I did want to go home for the summer, so I wanted to look into going and doing the studentship at home, which kind of presented some difficulties because I didn't have any connection to the faculty. I couldn't reach out and be like, I really enjoyed your class. I really want to work in your lab. Like what you were showing was really interesting to me. So with that, I just had to go on their research profiles and look at what they were doing. I had read some of their past previous published papers to kind of get a sense of what they were working on. I really went in wanting to work in the wet lab in cancer biology. So I kind of tailored what supervisor I want to work with my own interests. And then once I found one that aligned with what I wanted to do, I reached out to them and just kind of explained what I was hoping to get out of this opportunity, attached my CV transcript, and then also offered to meet virtually because I couldn't meet in person. And I was lucky enough to have a supervisor that emailed me back very open to the idea.
That's great, and I appreciate the tip too about reading a publication and showing that initiative to really find out if that's a research area that you're interested in. And then I think, as Dr. Ardolino was saying, that shows that initiative and that shows that enthusiasm that you're actually very interested in this opportunity. So thank you both for those great tips already. And I think Dr. Ardolino, you already touched on my next question, which was about kind of some of the common pitfalls. So might skip that one. Can we maybe go to a question about, for students, if this is their first opportunity in research, what can they expect? What do they do in your lab? What will the first few weeks or the summer look like?
So we usually pair students, well, always really, pair students with a trainee. So somebody will mentor them. More often than not is a graduate student, a senior graduate student. So somebody who has a project up and running. The first few weeks are really just shadowing that person to get to know the ropes. So, for example, we do a lot of mouse work, we do a lot of flow cytometry. So even just learning how to handle animals and how to locate organs and how to perform the techniques that we have to do. But then I really like students to have some independency and try to, make as many mistakes as they can, and eventually something good happens, and they, become independent. And in 8 weeks in summer is not too much time to do that, but usually it sets them up for a nice segue into their other projects. So that's something that I really like. And the very great thing of coming to a lab in the summer is that the summer is awesome. There's a lot of social events happening, and so usually what we do is we take the students out and have some sort of welcoming lunch or something like that to make them feel welcome.
That's great. And you mentioned too that oftentimes maybe these students can move into an honors project. So is that kind of a nice way for both you and the student to test whether this is the right fit for that?
Yeah, absolutely. It has worked out quite well for my lab.
And Chelsea, can you share a little bit more about your exposure to research before the opportunity, and where that interest developed, and how you kind of prepared for moving into a lab environment?
Yeah, so the extent of like my research exposure was pretty much nothing. I was never in a lab. I did try to volunteer or get into a lab, but oftentimes supervisors tend to not reply because they do get a lot of emails. So it's completely understandable, especially when you're in a lower year in undergrad and not really having as much of the fundamental techniques that you obtain through like a biochemistry lab that is more an upper year course. Um, so that being said, I only really had like some of the fundamental techniques from my biochemistry lab, like with pipetting. I was able to complete my 6-hour molecular biology lab, which was very useful considering I was entering a molecular biology lab. But besides that, I didn't have any research exposure. So the main thing that I did to prepare for myself was again looking at their previous papers and seeing which techniques they were consistently using, and then kind of getting like a good background on what I was going into. My supervisor was very helpful. He actually had a bunch of lectures that went into like the background and methodology. So that was something that I watched beforehand.
Wow, that's great preparation that they had that. And then Dr. Ardolino mentioned that he pairs his undergraduate students with a senior trainee. Did you have someone who kind of was more hands-on with you in the lab as well?
Yeah, so going on to the project, like this was a bigger project that he was working on. So there was master students and a PhD student who was working on the project as well. So I was able to kind of work under them and get training by them. It was super collaborative. I definitely learned a lot. It was a very nurturing lab environment.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that. Dr. Ardolino, I think you touched on this a little bit, but can you speak to a little bit more about the skills that students can expect to develop out of this experience and how that might help them in their future career?
Right. So the skills you'll be getting is really lab dependent. If you come to my lab again, you probably will see a flow cytometer, and more often than not, you'll have to handle a mouse. If you go to some of my colleagues' lab, it's a lot of computational biology, so much coding. If you go to somebody else's, all biochemistry. If you go to the lab that Chelsea went, it's probably a lot of cloning and this kind of technique. So the techniques really are just a very small part of your training, and it's always very malleable. You sometimes have to learn something and then you never use it again. I have done Western blot when I was a graduate student. I was one and I never did it again. I was very proud of that, actually. But so techniques you can always learn, but what you get really is a sense of what happens in a biomedical research lab, which you never did, right? So for me, when I was your age, science was really a black box. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I would have liked it. And I think that kind of approach in a very controlled fashion, being paired with a student with low stakes. If you fail, nothing bad's gonna happen. It's really important to get a sense of whether you like the research environment and if it's something that you see yourself doing for the next 10, 15 years if you want to be an academic. And trying to get a sense of what critical thinking is. I think that's the most important skill that we transfer to our trainee. For me, when I graduate a PhD student, the most important thing that they learn how to do is really thinking in a scientific way, and that doesn't come in the summer, but at least you can start start seeing how other people do it in a more structured fashion. This is very different than taking courses.
That's great. And you touched a little bit on how, especially in the summer, it's a short amount of time in the research timeline, and it's a bit experimental. So can you speak, I guess, a little bit to the expectations of how much is a student expected an undergraduate student with no experience expected to accomplish in, say, a summer research project? What's realistic?
My expectation is nothing. So I really have zero expectation. This is, for us, is an investment that we do on training. We really don't expect to get any data, at least myself. I really think, as I was an undergraduate student, people gave me an opportunity to learn how to do stuff and didn't bring anything to their lab, really. I am passing on the baton, if you will. I'm happy to, put my lab at service for the students to learn. So I think the pressure is very, very low on the students. So if you are thinking, I want to apply to this, but I don't know if I can do it, just do it. You're gonna have a lot of fun, because we don't expect you to produce a figure or produce a meaningful project. At least I think wise PIs wouldn't. And you will learn more than you expect just being in the lab. So it is a great opportunity.
Thank you so much. That's such a great insight. And Chelsea, can you share a little bit of your highlights from your overall summer experience, and maybe how your experience in the program has influenced your career goals?
Yeah, so I think like one of the main highlights was just being able to work in a lab and kind of see like how research is done like on a daily basis. Undergrad doesn't really showcase exactly what it is. Considering you're in a lab every 2 weeks for only 3 hours is very different from being in the lab every single day. So getting that hands-on experience was very valuable to me, especially with techniques that I had never seen in undergrad as well. It definitely influenced my career goals. It gave me a sense of confidence and clarity into potentially pursuing a master's degree. I'm actually most likely going to go back to that lab with the same supervisor and complete a master's with him, actually. So it definitely really helped build that connection and make that transition much easier.
That's great. Thank you so much, Chelsea. And actually, I might direct the next question at you just to follow up on that. So, we've talked about how this opportunity helps students get exposure to research and whether they like the research environment, but so much of that is influenced by the supervisor. So can you share a little bit, it sounds like you're keen to continue as a graduate student in the lab. What are some signs that they're a supervisor that you want to be supported by and continue with?
Yeah, like I said, like I had a really great supervisor. I came in and he was very just keen on the idea of trying to get the most out of the program. He really wanted to tailor things that I was interested in. So I am interested in medicine. So he was really trying to like tailor to potentially get me on a publication and everything like that. So he was like super supportive in that sense. Um, his main thing was to just have fun. So it really created like a positive lab environment, I found. He was really easy to go talk to whenever things weren't working, which can be really intimidating if you have to present results that just didn't work from an experiment, especially if it's your first time. But he was very clear, like, you're going to make mistakes. Like, that's a part of research. Like, it's okay. It's always like a learning opportunity. So just having a supervisor that's super approachable and like willing to like help you is I think like one of the best indicators of a good supervisor.
Great, thank you. And Dr. Ardolino, it sounds like you have a similar approach to supervision. Can you just share a little bit too about what you think is important in the student supervisor relationship?
I think you want to establish a relationship where students can just knock at your door and start talking, and they're comfortable about that. Um, and most importantly, I think good supervisor will be there for you to make do your next step in your career. We know that people that go through our labs is just one step of their career. So for me, what's very, very important is my students, or my trainees in my lab, can do what they want when they get off my lab. So it's just a little ramp for their future successes. And you want somebody who's willing to invest time on you, because time for us is the most valuable commodity. Like, we are so busy with and so scattered around with so many things, and you want to find somebody who really values the time that can give to students. So I, for example, have one-on-one meetings with my students, and that's all I can give them once a week. Then we have lab meeting, but you want to go to a lab where the supervisor can take the time to talk to you, I think.
That's great. Thank you so much. Great insight from both of you. I appreciate that. And I guess one more question. I know, Chelsea, you haven't had an opportunity to attend Summit for CI yet, so maybe a question for Dr. Ardolino. Can you just speak a little bit to what kind of opportunity attending a scientific conference provides for students and trainees?
Oh, this is awesome. Like, when I was a student, that was my favorite, and still is probably my favorite part of being a scientist, is going to meetings. And it changes based on your career. So when you go to a meeting at your age, you'll not probably understand much. I remember when I was a trainee, I went to my first meeting. Well, it was in English, so it was not helping. But the scientific content was so dense; it was really hard to get by. Now, the Summit for Cancer Immunotherapy is very approachable. I think the speakers actually do a very good job in trying to maybe tune it down science-wise a little bit, so that everybody in the room can understand, even the patient partners, etc. And that's great. So that is exciting, because you get to see the very big names in the field. You get to really put a face to a name, like you said before, Julie, is always very nice. And the other thing is the connection that you make. Like, those connections last for a very long time. So we all have meeting buddies that we, go to the same meetings over and over, and we meet and, share a drink or have a chat. And that's an invaluable connection, because those are going to become your colleagues. So when you start fostering these relationships at the very beginning, it's awesome. And particularly for the Summit for Cancer Immunotherapy, the patient angle is very well accentuated. And so I do some translational research, but I'm not exposed to patient too often. So I think that all my students and myself, when we have the patient partner speaking, is really inspirational. Really gives you a different idea of why we do research to some level. And I like to think of myself as a basic scientist, so I care about discovery very much. But then when I'm seeing a patient speaking, I kind of am reminded firsthand, okay, this is very important for this reason as well. I think at least once a year I have to be reminded of that. So that's something very, very valuable. It's a great meeting. It's a great opportunity to go to that meeting, particularly for undergraduate students, because there are not many opportunities.
That's so great. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad you brought up the opportunity to interact with patients as well. And one thing I should have mentioned too is at Summit for CI, students have the opportunity to present the scientific content of their posters, but we also have the opportunity to present a plain language poster to our patient partners who are at the conference. So we really try to create those touch points with both the researchers and the patients, and get that exposure and those perspectives early on. So thank you so much. I think that's it for some of my predetermined questions. So thank you both. That was such fantastic insight that you've shared. And I love how you've also normalized the research environment and the process. And, it's normal to experience failure and troubleshoot and encounter challenges. And really the purpose of this program is just to provide a safe learning environment to do that and get that exposure and see if it is an environment that students want to continue in. So I will turn the floor over to our audience if there's any questions. I believe you can use the chat, or there's also a Q&A session. So if you have any questions for any of our partners or the programmatic details or our panelists. So I see one, can we submit an application in French or—
Can I answer this?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
You can, I think, but you shouldn't. A very long time ago, somebody decided that English was the language of science, and I sucked it up and learned it. And you're never going to be able to publish anything in French. So if this is a training opportunity, you should just write in English. As uncomfortable as it makes you feel, write in English, because it doesn't make sense for you to learn how to write in science in French. It's not a usable skill, I think. I'm very passionate about this, as you can see.
Yeah.
Of course, anytime. Should say that I send my daughter to French school, so I'm not anti-francophone, just for this particular thing.
And where can we find the list of partnered supervisors? So again, and I'll share these slides. Actually, I can probably put this link into the chat, but on our website, you'll find a list of the investigators in our network. Now, again, I can't necessarily confirm whether they'll be taking students this year. So again, that's part of the process, is reaching out to supervisors. And as Dr. Ardolino mentioned, doing your research, really seeing if the research aligns with your interests and showing some enthusiasm and interest in their work specifically, and not just sending kind of a blanket template email.
And I also
but
can also add something
yeah, absolutely.
to this. Because I remember when I was a student, this paid off quite well. It's find a place you want to go and spend your summer, and then find a lab. Because it's I mean, if you're from Vancouver, come to Montreal or come to Ottawa and spend the summer here, because it's a different experience than the one that will have at home. And it's like what Julie said, right? You go to school somewhere else and you go back home, that's fine. At least you have experienced two different academic environment. Take this as an opportunity to, differentiate your training. That would be my suggestion. And you will always find somebody that does research that is appealing to you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Julie, I don't want to take your job.
No, that's why you're here, is to provide that insight. Thank you. Okay, and Ali is asking, when we reach out to investigators, do we mention the studentship as well, or just mention how our interest aligns with their research? I'll give my advice, that I'll welcome anyone else to chime in, but my advice is absolutely mention the studentship program and your intention to co-apply. I do think funding is typically a hurdle for professors to take on students, and so the fact that the studentship provides funding is a good draw to help push the deal towards yes. Any other perspectives? Feel free.
I think you're right. I mean, it shows that you have done some due diligence, like you know what's up.
These are great questions. Any other ones? And you can find my information on the website, but I'm going to put my email in the chat in case you'd like to reach out. Dr. Ardolino, you've made an impression. Are you taking applicants next summer?
Actually, to be entirely honest, I haven't thought about my summer yet. So do shoot me an email.
Awesome. Okay, and Noor is asking, I've had very little luck in getting investigators to respond. I've tried to personalize messages, have only one semester worth of research experience. Any tips from anyone here about, I know, Chelsea, you kind of made it sound like you emailed one person and they said yes. Was that how it happened, or were there other emails that you got no responses or a no to?
Yeah, so like I said before, I did try to get into a lab when I was in like second year and third year. So I was like emailing supervisors as well. And I usually just got nothing in return. I think that's very common. Like I said, like they do receive like a bunch of emails a day, so it is kind of difficult to like kind of filter through that. Some supervisors just see it and just kind of ignore it. Um, So especially like if you only have one semester, that can be very difficult, and kind of saying like, like I at least have like these fundamental skills. That was something that I definitely had a hard time in, and I'm in fourth year now. So when I applied, I had already 3 years of undergrad. I did get super lucky with the supervisor that I had found. He replied in 10 minutes, which was the fastest I've ever seen. He's really open to having a bunch of students. So I kind of just got lucky. But if you're really keen on working with a specific supervisor, I would suggest also following up. The best advice I can give is the worst that they can say is no. For my thesis, my undergrad thesis, I had reached out to a supervisor. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat at the same time. My supervisor is Dr. Tharmalingam. He's at the Northern Ontario School of Medicine, which is located in Sudbury. But what I was saying was for following up can also be very good in showcasing your enthusiasm. For my thesis project, I had reached out to a professor. She did not reply, and then a week later, I had again emailed her, and then she ended up replying to me. So that can also be another thing you could do as well.
Yeah, follow-ups are very important actually, because sometimes I would not respond to an email just because I cannot in that particular moment. And then I just forget that I have a backlog of emails that I have to go through. So if I actually know somebody in Sweden who doesn't respond to first email just by principle. So he waits for them to write again, which maybe not the best of approaches, but that's what he does. Yeah, but don't give up. It's a
Appreciate
good
that
training
advice.
actually, because you get a lot of slaps in the face. So this is just a good training.
Yeah. And also thanks Angie for sharing your insight too in the chat here. Another vote
I
for
have PhD.
follow up. And Lola, did you want to add some advice here as well?
Yeah, I could definitely give I some experience. So I started research in my first year where I didn't have any research experience reaching out to supervisors. But I think what helped me was that I was in a similar kind of studentship program that because the supervisor already knows of the program, it kind of it's not as cold of an email as it usually would be. So I think that helps. And then the funding support for this program, that's gonna add to it as well. And I also think because supervisors are really busy and they have a lot going on, just be really clear about what you can bring to the table and also what expectations would be for them, because sometimes because there's so many competing priorities, maybe they don't have the bandwidth to even take on a student. So if you make it really clear what you want them to do and what the ask is from them, I think that's really helpful as well. And honestly, like everybody like touched on, there's going to be a lot of no's, but you never know. It can be that email that you decide to send that day that starts a great relationship in which you do a master's with that supervisor or a PhD. That's also what happened in my case. So yeah, I think just keep on. It's just like perseverance and also just being really, really clear and strategic in the way that you're reaching out to people.
Right. Thank you so
But
much for sharing
maybe
your
one thing
experience
that I
too.
want to add is that even if you do have, even if you're very early in your academic journey, like first or second year, actually I prefer to have first or second year students in my lab, because then we have more time for them to learn things, and then in the fourth year they become productive, like way more productive. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of students who started very early in my lab, like in their first year.
Yeah. And also not just research experience, like it doesn't only have to be research experience. You can kind of tailor other things that you've done that still showcase the same skills that are, wanted for a research position. So whether that's through clubs or project coordination, stuff like that, those are also valuable. So it's how you communicate that.
Really appreciate that. And Angie's also sharing more personal. I love this in the chat. Angie, thank you for sharing your lived experience here. But that's a great suggestion too. There could be someone in the department who can help facilitate the question. And our application, we do try to keep it at a minimum. It's not particularly burdensome, I don't think, in terms of administration. So and I think the student really can complete most of that with a little bit of support from the supervisor. So you could throw in that too, that it's not a huge, big application on their part as well. We are coming close to 2 o'clock. Thank you so much for all of the questions in the chat here and for all of our panelists for all of this fantastic insight you've provided today. So thank you so much for your time and for joining us. Again, my contact information is in the chat and also on our website, but I do encourage you to check out the website, stay in touch with our newsletter and keep updated on this opportunity. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I look forward to reading some of these applications.
Thanks for
Thank you
having me,
so
Julie.
much.
It's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for having me, Julie.
Thank you.